It's the second leg of a TC America powered by Skip Barber doubleheader weekend at Barber Motorsports Park just outside of Birmingham, Alabama. 3 classes of touring cars set to go in the second race of the weekend with just 3 races left in the season. PJ Gronke clinched the TCA championship yesterday, but TCX and TC are still in the balance, and we've got 40 minutes of racing upcoming under a sunny sky here in the Deep South to get that much closer to naming our champions in those 2 classes. Hello, my name is Ryan Marine. Calvin Fish is alongside. It's Amanda Busick down in the pit lane on a very temperate morning. Temperatures right around 70 degrees on the Fahrenheit scale, 28.4 Celsius, a light breeze as well. All in all, a beautiful day to be out at the racetrack, Calvin, and a nice day to go racing for the touring cars. We saw PJ Gronke win a championship yesterday. We've got a good battle, though, in both TCX and TC that still needs to be decided.
It does. Chris Walsh has almost got his name on that trophy for the championship, yeah, but in TC it's really tight indeed. But what a day for Jeff Ricker. Had to go to a backup car and scored a dominant victory here yesterday. Christian Pericarpi, who sits second in the points, he had to respond because he's now 35 back of the championship leader.
And there are only 50 points still on offer after today, 75 total, including today's race. Well, we mentioned Amanda was down on the grid. Let's hear from her with some stories as we get ready to go for race 2 of the weekend.
Hey guys, yeah, I think what's fun that we're finding in all of our series here this week, and you go to the championship action, and it's right here typically in the front row of these classes. You're going to see Chris Walsh and Celso Neto. Celso with the fastest lap. Yesterday he did have that drive-through penalty that took him out of contention to battle and keep Chris Walsh honest in this championship. It is pushed a little further, but Chris having the opportunity to be your 2024 champion in TCX. It was a beautiful celebration in the winner's circle yesterday as both of his daughters greeted him, one with tears in her eyes at the success of her father. One of the stories I know that we're going to be following is that of Jeff Ricker racing in Ron Zaris's car. We talked about the sportsmanship with Jen Racer yesterday. They wrapped up the manufacturer's championship already here today, so you know how proud Jeff Ricker is of that, but really just gave a ton of pride and celebration to Ron Zaris of being able to offer that seat. The team told me that Jeff didn't even have to ask for it, that Ron said to him, hey, you are going after this championship. Go get it, buddy. And then in the TCX, PJ Gronke, he gets to just drive around this place as a champion today, and boy, was it a fun celebration for him. We know how much he loves all of his sponsors. And guys, I think we're about to hear some cars fire. Let's see if I can get this right on time. It's like it's magic. Enjoy the race.
Get some power down there, Amanda. Well done. The cars do roar to life. And Amanda made reference to that celebration in Victory Lane yesterday, and what an emotional sight it was. Super cool to see that. And I think it goes to show just how much effort goes into winning these races when you get a chance to celebrate with friends and family. This is Chris Walsh with those 2 daughters. An emotional day for Chris, and this could be an even bigger one. He comes in with a solid lead. He basically just needs to get to the halfway point in this race, and he should lock down that TCX championship.
He should, and he's responded nicely because Celso Neto was really putting the pressure on. Celso went on a charge here late in the season, broke through, got the first win, made that 3 out of 4 races where he took the top step. But yesterday it was close. There was some contact there late in the going in traffic. Celso got the drive-through penalty and ultimately cost him the chance of victory. But another one in the win column for Chris Walsh, and as you said, just finish the race here today. The championship will be his and well-deserved.
Points are paid once you get to the halfway point. You're guaranteed to score some points because there are, the 5 cars in that class. So as long as you're in a position to score points and you reach halfway, you're guaranteed points. At that point, there's nothing Celso Neto could do, even with a race win, to stay in the hunt into Indianapolis. So that's the scenario there for Chris Walsh. It's quite simple. It's a little bit different, though, in TC with Christian Pericarpi trying to stay in the mix. Again, as long as he's within 50 points, he can head to his home race in Indianapolis and feel like he has a chance to go and get the win, albeit a bit remote. Really, though, he needs to have a good result today, finish ahead of Jeff Ricca to really feel like he's in the mix going into Indy.
Yeah, he's 35 back. If that gets increased any more than that, it's going to be a really tall order for Indianapolis. But strange things happen in racing. I mean, Jeff Ricca just came out a little bit shy last year. He wants to go one better. So what an emotional roller coaster for him in terms of having that car caught fire.
This is, yes, that's right. That was a big story earlier the weekend when that car caught fire, forcing them to go to the backup. Here's the starting grid. Celso Neto does have the pole position today. He got that by just 0.03 of a second over Chris Walsh. Aaron Kaplan looking for a podium, and Cooper Brohl starts alongside. Chris DeFreitas back in 5th. Pole sitter in TC is the points leader, Jeff Ricca. For Ricca Autosport and Gen Racer, Christian Pericarpi starting in the 2nd spot. Scott Thompson looking for his first podium of the season and indeed of his career. It could be today. He lines up in 3rd. Sally McNulty was on the podium yesterday. She'll start just behind it here today. PJ Gronke, the champion-elect in TCA. He will start from pole in class. Alex Garcia starts 2nd, and local guy Carl Hurdle in the local Alabama Honda manufacturing facility team will start in the 3rd spot and at the back of the grid in TCA and overall. So that's how they line up for today's race. 12 cars in all. And it's worth noting that this class will see a total reshuffling when we go to next season with the elimination of TCA and then the combination of TCX and TC into a single class. Also shorter races, some weekends having as many as 3 races on a weekend. A lot of change in the air when you talk about touring car racing in SRO. Yeah,
it's going to be exciting to see how it pans out for next season. But when we talk about putting the TCX and the TC cars together, you think, well, that might be a tall order. Well, they've been running very similar lap times through the middle part of this season, typically within a second or so, as we've seen here at Barber Motorsports Park. So I think it's going to be challenging, but nonetheless, it's a lot of excitement and looking forward to seeing that play out for next season.
Talked to Celso Neto about that, and he said, you know, this is actually something in terms of combining TCX and TC that he's been campaigning for a long time. He thinks the two platforms are relatively similar, and he looks forward to the prospects of having deeper grids, more people to race with. Should be fun. Also a nice mix of manufacturers to add to, in TCX at least, that BMW and Acura duel.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. See more manufacturers in the mix there fighting for an overall victory. And it'll be great to see if Celso comes back. He's an outstanding young talent who's performed and done great things this season.
He indicated that is his intention to continue racing touring cars here in SRO America. He's got the pole position here, the Rover Pole Award, in fact, as he enters the VP acceleration zone. The Skip Barber entered Acura on pole position next to the Karis Kallis race team BMW of the championship leader Chris Walsh, who could lead today as the champion-elect. Great getaway by the poleman Celso Neto. Kaplan in the green-fronted BMW fighting with Brohl in his Acura over 3rd and 4th. Brohl coming back to the inside, going door-to-door through the Alabama roller coaster, and boy, that got close.
Really close. Now we see the TC start.
Ricca on pole position in a different color scheme than we're used to seeing here this weekend. Amanda told the story. Ron Zares, who's here, was supposed to drive this car, in fact, volunteered to give the seat up to help the team boss go for a championship, but Christian Pericarpi doesn't want to make it easy on him. He's fighting tough here through the Alabama roller coaster, putting pressure on for the lead.
Very determined there, Christian Pericarpi. Bold move around his teammate into turn 1. Now he's putting the pressure on Ricca immediately here as they dive down the hill. This is turn 5, Charlotte's Web as we call it. Sally McNulty there to the inside of Thompson as they accelerate off of turn 5.
This is the fight for the final podium position. Thompson looking for his first career podium at the pro racing level. He's in position to get it if things finish as they run, but still, of course, in the early going here on lap number 1. Neto, Walsh, oh, and a spin. That's Thompson going around. McNulty was in the vicinity. Thompson needs to get that car refired, and he does. He sets back off again.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there was contact or not, but relatively cold tire temps. Ambient sort of like mid-60s right now. It's a little bit cooler than what we dealt with here. Yes, let's take and see how this one evolves. Oh, he just spins by himself there as he comes through turn 8.
Sowie did a great job to woe it up to avoid the spinning Mini. She sets off in pursuit of yet another podium. She's starting to rack them up here at this stage of the season. Neto leads by 0.3 of a second over Chris Walsh. Then it's the battle between Kaplan and Brohl, but Walsh is closing back in on Celso Neto. Celso looked awfully strong behind Walsh yesterday. Thought maybe he'd have a chance to pull away in clean air, but that's not been the way it's played out here so far.
No, and you know that the championship is essentially in Chris Walsh's hands right now, but he'd love to finish it off in style here with another victory here to sweep the weekend. But Celso Neto, he also wants to make a statement. He's had a brilliant finish to this season. That Integra has really come alive, and Celso's got the ability to deliver the performance behind the wheel.
He's won 3 of the last 5 races, and that has kept him in the title conversation. But as we've talked about, trails by 70 points entering today's race, and after today, just 50 points left on offer. So for Chris Walsh, scoring a couple points, getting to the halfway mark and guaranteeing those points, that will be enough to take home a title.
BMW is really quick through that fast switchback there, 12 and 13. Looks like he closes in on Celso a little bit through that sector.
It's interesting to compare and contrast the two platforms, right? Front-wheel drive Acura, rear-wheel drive BMW. They're going to have strengths and weaknesses in different parts of the track. Celso told me that third sector is really where they feel like they give up some performance relative to the BMW.
Yeah, looks like the Integra's a little bit lazier in change of direction. The BMW is really hooked up, it seems.
Scott Thompson looking to recover. He is making his way through some of the TCA traffic. Of note, Carl Hurdle has gotten around Alex Garcia and now runs in the second spot.
Gronke again trying to just put the cherry on the top. Got the icing yesterday with sealing the deal on the championship. Love to score another victory.
And then we talked about the fact that next year TCX and TC will run together and how close they've been in performance this year. Fastest lap of the race right now belongs to Jeff Rica, the TCA, or excuse me, the TC class leader. And Christian Pericarpi not too terribly far behind. Won't take too much adjustment to get those two classes mingled together nicely in a single class next year.
Through 10 and 11 here, this is where I really feel the BMW's a little stronger. Watch Celso's car looks a little bit lazier in transition there. You can see the BMW just hugs the road. Doesn't have to wait on the car, just goes where he points it.
Walsh was quicker the last time by about 1/10 of a second, so it's not much separating these two. And again, the grid today was set by fastest lap of the race yesterday, which Neto had, but only by 0.03. So it's remarkable how even these platforms have become as the season has gone along.
Walsh, really good exit there through turn 17. Didn't think about going to the inside of turn 1 at such a high-speed approach, but up front in TC and with the fastest lap of the race is Jeff Rica.
As they run, he would extend his lead over Christian Pericarpi to 42 points, which doesn't seal the deal, but it gets you pretty close. 25 points for a win in TC America competition. Back to the front, Neto earned the respect of Chris Walsh for his defensive tactics early in the season when Chris termed him the Minister of Defense. So Chris knows what he's up against here. It's a formidable force, Celso Neto.
Yeah, I think Celso's a feisty competitor, and I think Chris has recognized that. I mean, Chris to me seems to have a little bit more calmer demeanor than Celso does. Don't know the guys that well, but that's the initial impression that I get from them, and that seems to be demonstrated in the way they drive.
Both of them, though, fierce competitors. When the visor goes down, there's a level of intensity that creeps into their personalities.
Oh, yeah. They both want it in the worst way. Always seems to be the way. You get late in the season, suddenly the champion-elect just really seems to be under pressure. You know, it's just not like they can just walk through the end of the season and just keep racking up the victories. They seem to have to fight for it, which I think makes it even more rewarding, to be honest with you.
Walsh started the season with 6 consecutive wins. He's got now 8 on the year. remarkable consistency. He's not finished worse than second at a single time this season. That explains why he's built such a big margin in the points. We've got 33 minutes left on the clock. Let's hear more about this championship battle with Amanda.
Yeah, I just love the journey that Chris Walsh has been on this season. We're going to set up an interview with Tony Callis here shortly just to see how rewarding this experience has been alongside Chris this season as well. You go back to Sonoma, Tony started telling his story how Chris came to him wanting to race and wanting to be competitive, and Tony took a risk on Chris, and I'm sure it's been a journey for Tony as well alongside him. One of the things I love about Chris is that the way that he speaks about his goals and his hopes for the future. If you look at the tagline of his website, the first thing that shows up is driven by ambition. And when you look at the summary of a driver, you know he got that opportunity to race in the GT4 class for the Karis Callis Racing as well. That was immediately updated on his website. So every little accomplishment and every little opportunity that Chris is getting here, starting here in this season, you can see that how much it really matters to the driver that's just on a brink now of a championship.
Did finish on the podium in GT4 yesterday too with Nick Shanny. That was a really good result for them there. Moments ago set the fastest lap of this race at a 34.8, taking that away from Jeff Ricka.
It's been a perfect, Thompson, I believe.
I think you're right. Yep, car 66, that is Scott Thompson, and I think I see some smoke or maybe something hanging down under that car as well.
Maybe that rough ride earlier. Let's take another look, see if he's been off.
We know Minis are good off-road cars, good rally heritage with the brand. And that left front is down. I think that's the problem there. Whether that was cause or effect, I don't know. We thought maybe this would be the breakthrough day for Scott to get up on the podium. But that appears to have to wait, at least as things run, until Indianapolis.
Fascinating battle here. I think the real key is going to be managing those tires for Celso Neto, as you alluded to yesterday with the front-wheel drive Integra. It's putting a lot of load through those drive wheels, as well as the turning wheels, of course. So if we get a long green flag run that we typically have here, that could be the challenge for him, because Chris Walsh is right there, and I think if Celso falls off the pace it's going to give Chris Walsh an opportunity. Kaplan and Broll are having a really solid run. They're not being outdistanced quite as rapidly as we saw here yesterday, so they've made some response with their car setups, I would assume, overnight.
I think something must have happened with Aaron yesterday, because he was running in a similar position and all of a sudden just dropped way off the pace. Today he's been able to maintain that pace. He's kept Cooper Broll behind him as they fight for a podium.
With that spin where the Thompson literally just pulled the tire off the rim. He came back across the curbs.
Not much at all separating these two. Their last lap, the difference was 26 thousandths of a second. So evenly matched. Some drivers might melt under this continued pressure, and others thrive. And Neto is in that the latter category, I should say, because it seems like no matter how much pressure he's under, it doesn't affect his line. He just keeps his eyes focused forward, does not make that crucial mistake.
And they're both right on the limit. You can see them floating the speed through these corners, just trying to grab every ounce of performance out of their respective race cars. And again, I just think the real factor is there's a long way to go in this race still, Ryan, is if that Integra can keep its front tires underneath him.
That is the question for Celso Neto, who cut his teeth racing in his native Brazil, won a Turismo Centro Oeste championship, which I'm sure you're very familiar with, Calvin.
Easy for you to say.
In the 1.4 light category. That was back in 2022. Has had success racing in Brazilian stock cars, Brazilian touring cars. Even did a couple of NASCAR Brazil races last year. In addition to his campaign here stateside, which saw him finish third in the championship in TC, making the step up to TCX here this year.
to assume that maybe Chris Walsh has a little bit more pace. We talked about them being very evenly matched, but his pace is being stymied certainly by having Celso right in front of him, but he's keeping it close. If he could get in front, maybe he has enough pace to draw away.
Here is PJ Gronke, who I believe yesterday was the first driver to clinch an SRO America Championship this season. The only exception might have been Gresham Wagner, who's running away with Toyota GR Cup North America this year. Not sure if he had sealed the deal yet or not. But nevertheless, ooh, this is a big development here. This is Christian Pericarpi in the pits. This is second place in points. And depending on how this goes, this could clinch the title for Jeff Ricca.
It could. They got to get Christian back out. He's got to get to 50% mark in this race to score some points. That is broken, I believe.
They had some kind of a mechanical or technical issue.
That was braking, and then he went off the road and then had impact. So I wonder if this is a residual from that.
That's my thought, too. That was earlier in the weekend, on Friday, in fact. I think we can get more on that story. Let's catch up with Amanda in the pits.
Yeah, I just talking with Louis Pericarpi of if this may be related to the issues that they've faced here this week. And Christian's waving at me from outside the car. Nice of him. It said it's completely separate from what that ice mode the Mini was going into earlier in the weekend. Christian came down pit lane, kind of moving the steering wheel, but just said he simply can't handle it. The handling out on the track is just too risky, guys.
I thought something was broken when the mechanic wiggled the wheel there, so I don't think it's the same braking issue in terms of the ice mode, but I wonder when he had the off, there was contact, whether there's something got cracked there. And but I know the team went through with the fine-tooth comb to get him in great shape for qualifying in the race yesterday.
Let's do some math here as Brohl and Kaplan continue to duel. This is for third and fourth. Pericarpi shown in third right now. That would be 15 points. He'd give up 10 if Ricca were to win, so it would be 45 points.
But he's got to do 50% of the race still.
True.
So he's got to get back out there to score those points.
Yeah, that's a great point. We're not there yet, are we? And then Scott Thompson is still running and could conceivably take another position, and with it, another 3 points off of his teammate.
Yeah, I wonder if they would consider parking the 66.
The tough part about that would be, this would be Scott's first ever podium.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if Christian doesn't get to 50% anyway. So if he's out, then they'll just let Thompson do what he needs to go and do. But if Christian should get a fix on that race car, then that position might be important.
We were wondering about the front wheel drive tire life for Celso Neto. 15 minutes into this thing, the good news is he's still capable of turning his best lap of the race this deep into the run. He just did so. The bad news is Chris Walsh was even quicker, not by much, just a few hundredths of a second, but Walsh now resets the overall fastest lap of the race, and as you can see, is hounding Celso Neto, but has yet to unlock this particular safe here, trying to find a way by and into the lead of the race.
Yeah, just so incredibly evenly matched. The cars look different when they're going through the corners in terms of their dynamic. Christian is still trying to turn that wheel, says something doesn't feel quite right.
I think we got more now from this story with Amanda.
Well, it looked like he was about to get out of the race car, but I see him redoing his belts here, so maybe they are going to try to send Christian back out. And talking, Cal, just to clarify on what you were saying, if it was the contact after that ABS failure, Lewis just say they did tear that Mini apart to find out any issue. They just can't figure out what's going on. In reference to if they were going to send Christian back out, Lewis kind of shook his head and said, you know what, we just don't have the power that the Hyundai has, so I'm not sure, but hey, the door is shut of that Mini. It looks like Christian is going to at least keep his point situation alive for today in hopes.
Well, he needs to get a few more laps in the books to at least guarantee fourth place points. I think he would then mathematically still have a shot at it, but it would be an outside chance, let's put it that way. Heading into the final two races of the season at Indianapolis.
So far, Chris Walsh hasn't even attempted a move on Celso Neto, so I'm not sure if he's just biding his time, wants to be maybe a touch closer before he thinks about diving down at the inside. 37's going back to the paddock area to see if they can figure out a solution there and try and get him back out, but time is not on their side.
If he scores no points, it would be championship over. Jeff Ricca would clinch here today.
Traffic up ahead for Celso Neto. How does he find it? He finds it in the perfect spot. That allows him to clear it. This is where they had that big moment yesterday when Celso split the traffic and tried to fire it down the inside and ultimately got into the side of Chris Walsh, sent him for a ride and drew the penalty.
Well, here's another thought as to why we haven't seen Chris Walsh even make an attempt. He just needs to go a few more laps and he'll be champion-elect, and at that point he can race without any real concern.
Great point. Yeah, exactly. Just get through the first half of this race and then go on the attack a little bit more.
Alex Garcia pulls out of line to let the overall leaders through. Garcia was second yesterday. He's a distant third today. Not sure what's going on with Alex, but all does not seem quite right. I mean, that lap was some 20 seconds off the pace, so he might be dealing with a few things too. In fact, he spent some time in the pits, according to timing and scoring, so there is something not quite right, unfortunately, with the number 14.
Bizarre couple of weekends. We saw this at Road America, quite a lot of attrition in a class and a championship. There's normally, these cars are pretty bulletproof most of the time, but as you start to try and draw more and more performance out of them, you start to cross some thresholds with the various systems. The tires chirping there through the museum turn. That's turn 9. Then you start to wind up the speed. I'm pretty sure it's flat out through this sector in a TCX car. Next chicane's a little bit more demanding, really tightens up on the second phase through here. Right there, and then you start to crest that hill. Just have the car pointed in the right direction without dropping a wheel. We'll see what happens in a couple of laps when we cross that halfway point. Ryan, if your thought is correct in terms of Chris Walsh will get a little bit more aggressive and start to probe to look for an opening.
He will know the big picture. They'll have done the math, of course, coming into this weekend. The two continue to run nearly identical laps. Chris still pushing, though. Just had a big handful of opposite lock he had to feed into that car. But they were lapping within just a few hundredths of a second of one another, lap after lap after lap.
Been a great battle. You know, it took a while for this Integra to find its speed and work with on the balance of performance to get it into a state where it could compete with the BMW. It's been the dominant car really in this form of competition for the last few seasons. They've done a great job with that whole organization there at Skip Barber Racing to give Celso the tools now to go for race victories.
That has been the story of the season, though. The BMW, which has been doing this for several years now in this championship, up against the new challenger in the form of the Acura Integra. And the start of the season, the edge definitely was with the BMW, but you usually do see that from a sanctioning body perspective to kind of ease the new car into the performance window that you're looking for. And by the second half of the season, the Integra certainly has been in that window. But here we come, big moment in the season here, past the halfway mark, across the line. Chris Walsh will score points here today, and with that, that has locked in a TCX Class Championship for Chris Walsh and the Karis Callis race team. Let's hear from Tony Callis, the proud team owner.
And there was a round of applause from the team as Chris just passed by and has now claimed the 2024 championship in TCX. And Tony, we've told the story since Sonoma of your belief in Chris Walsh. How proud are you in this moment?
I don't have words for that, but the kid has done well. And what we wanted to do was, I talked to Nick Shanny, the owner of basically my team, and I said, would you want to have some wins in somebody, a team, or would you want a championship? Sounds like a crazy question, but he looks at me and he goes, definitely a championship. So we picked the car, we picked the driver, and Daniel and Karen and I, which is Daniel's wife, we went for it. And it looks like it just happened.
Congratulations, Tony.
Thanks.
Master of understatement, Tony Callis. Yes, the kid has done well. Remarkable story, Chris Walsh. He's an Air Force Special Tactics officer. In fact, his parents told me at Road America he's in line for a promotion. Once that gets through Congress, of course, it's not instantaneous with any of these military promotions. But was a college athlete, played college football at Valparaiso University in Indiana, transitioned into bobsledding, and actually was a U.S. national team bobsledder for a time, but always had an interest in motorsport. His entry into it was, like so many these days, through sim racing. Transitioned into club-level racing from there, has made sporadic starts in this championship over the years. But Tony Callis offered this opportunity up at the start of the year. They were quite candid that Chris did not have the budget to do a full season, but they wanted to find a way to support him, support his story, support veterans, which is obviously near and dear to the Walsh family's heart. And they have been repaid many times over with the performances Chris has displayed this year.
Yeah, you could tell Tony's there pretty emotional. Great support from him and Nick Shanny and everyone there with that group. Congratulations to the team. It's not easy. I mean, you think, oh, we'll just go out and drive these races. It takes an enormous amount of preparation to keep them as reliable as they are. So they've done their job, and Chris has certainly performed on the racetrack. He's had a different challenge in the second half of the season when Celso's come alive here a little bit, but nonetheless, quality guy, and great to see him getting the results and the achievements right now.
Well, now that the championship is more or less sealed, there's the happy family. They know that they've crossed that threshold, and it is such a family atmosphere, racing in general, but especially at this level where, you know, you're putting your heart and soul and a lot of times your bank account into being at the racetrack one week to the next.
Yeah, you live and breathe it. I mean, I think anyone at the professional level does too, but I think even more so at more, I hate to call this grassroots, but at the lower levels of our sport, you know, you're digging deep and trying to manage the, as you said, the resources, the funding, getting the support. Small partners go a long way. You think of PJ Gronke, what he has to put together with his program, just willing to accept any donations to ease the path to being here on the race weekends.
There's a look at the points as they run in TCX, and with an advantage now above 50 points, that means Chris Walsh will be the champion with only 50 points left after today. Cooper Brohl has made the pass on Aaron Kaplan, by the way, and runs in podium position again. Cooper started to rack those up here in the second half of the season.
Yeah, he's really starting to come on strong here, second phase of the year. Getting used to this new machine, and these two have had a good battle here this weekend. We talk about the two leaders being very equally matched. Cooper and Aaron have been the same way.
And they're coming up on PJ Gronke, who's leading and in line for another win in TCA. Already took home the championship elect status yesterday. You mentioned all of his partners. You could see the stickers just all over that car. I think if the car was any bigger, he'd have even more stickers on it, but he's running a Mini. By definition, there's limited surface area.
Doesn't need bodywork, just put the stickers on the car.
That's right. What a character PJ Gronke is. So much fun.
And they'll be able to celebrate truly tonight. I mean, you talk about championship wins, but if this is day two, you've got to keep your act together overnight and not celebrate too vigorously, but certainly for Chris Walsh and the likes, and Isaac Sherman, who clinched the Pirelli GT America victory this morning. They can go celebrate big time tonight. Oh, here we go. This is the first legit passing opportunity here, and Chris Walsh takes it, so that was nicely done. He'd been thinking about it for a while, but I think to your point, he got to the second half of this race and then came out a little bit more aggressively there.
I believe everybody that has clinched a title this weekend has done so with a win, and Chris Walsh would like to keep that trend going. Saw the opportunity and wasted no time, jumping up the inside and grabbing the spot there into Charlotte's Web. Celso Neto trying to fight back. But we know that he was quite upfront about it. He did think that the second half of the race would be a challenge in the front-wheel drive car. He's done a pretty good job to keep that pace up, but Walsh had, over 25 minutes to really size him up and look for a weakness. And as soon as the door opened, Chris was ready to pounce.
Yeah, I don't think he was necessarily any closer. He just decided to go for it. So he'd certainly been biding his time. And through that third sector, that BMW is really hooked up. So that fast switch back there, 12 and 13, is where he really seeks to eat up the Integra a little bit. Look at this, though, down the front straightaway. Celso Neto back out. He's going to force Walsh wide there in the grass. Tires are dirty, got to keep it together. This is tight racing.
These two did make contact yesterday. Celso really went for it, and he did it again into turn number 1. That puts the Brazilian back to the lead.
Seems like the torque of that Integra coming through 17 really hits its sweet spot and gave him a monster run there into turn 1. Very brave move. Chris tried to hang on there, just ran out of real estate. Did a good job of not losing the race car.
Did Celso leave enough room? By rule, I should say. Clearly he didn't.
Yeah.
To stay all 4 wheels on the track for Chris.
I think that's hard racing. I wouldn't think the stewards will want to get involved in that one.
Let's take a look at this again.
Well, I think they were both on the same trajectory. I think from apex on, with the speed they were carrying, they're both going to end up in the same part. I don't think Celso forced him out there. That would be my take on it anyway. A little twitch there from the BMW over the crest of the hill.
Yeah, he's still pushing. He wants that win to go along with the TCX title. PJ Gronke, who has the TCA championship already wrapped up. Looking to make it 4 wins in a row, but it hasn't been totally straightforward. Let's watch PJ here. Wow.
That was weird.
That was.
Is he showing off to the crowd?
Maybe to Georgina. Well, doesn't look like there's anything amiss with the car. He's able to continue on. Had a massive lead, so really not in threat of losing the top spot. Carl Hurdle was some 23 seconds behind.
Walsh there, similar position, but Celso just took it in a little bit deeper, so maybe Celso learned a lesson there. Okay, I might be vulnerable there in turn 5. I've got to push in a little bit deeper into that brake zone, not be quite so safe.
How about Jeff Ricca? It would be 48 points, the difference going into Indianapolis. Not enough to close the deal today, but it would take something miraculous for Christian, disastrous for Jeff.
Yeah, but that's accounting. They're giving points to Christian with that graphic there that I don't think he's going to get awarded. They may go away once we get to the checkered flag with a 50% deal.
And that's true. The gap was 35 coming in.
It was.
So with the win, good point. Good point. That wouldn't, you're right. Jeff could clinch that today, assuming Christian does not get those points. Yes, because that would be 60.
Yeah, we haven't seen any sign of Christian back on pit lane, so.
And running out of time to match the number, or half the number of laps that the class winner would turn in order to be eligible for points. So we could have all 3 touring car championships done and dusted going into the finale.
This race has been intense. This is where he made the move earlier in the race to grab the lead, but not for long. Celso immediately responded on the next lap across the line. Just remarkably even, just nip and tuck, just a few hundredths there. Certainly through the biggest delta I see in terms of performance is through that high-speed sweep at 12 and 13. That's where the BMW really just seems to hug the road, where the Integra seems to be up on its heels a little bit through there.
Chris just took the fastest lap of the race, or I should say lowered that time down to a 1:34.6 the last time by. Amazing, he can still turn those kinds of times this deep into this 40-minute race.
And Celso's right there as well. He was only a 10th off, and
And
obviously still maintains the lead. So we talked about that front-wheel drive Integra losing tire performance. That was his, well, he almost equaled his best lap of the day as well on that tour.
And he just set on this lap the best overall middle sector. So, yeah, plenty of pace still in both of these cars, even this deep into the run. It's also slightly faster than the BMW this time by, about a tenth and a half.
They are pushing. I think a driver can really make a big difference around this racetrack. You can kind of manipulate the car a little bit.
Reports that PJ Gronke had another moment headed down towards the museum section. Same place, nearly identical, but has been able to continue on. How about it? This is a change in position. Kaplan is back around and up into third now.
Yeah, fantastic battle for the final step on the podium here. Seen Acura versus BMW for the win. BMW versus Acura here for P3. Those two drivers, their fastest lap is separated by just 0.08 of a second, so that's how tight they are, and it's 0.06 of a second between the two leaders, so it doesn't get a lot tighter than that.
Let's watch PJ Gronke here. Wow.
That is really bizarre. I mean, at that point, you really shouldn't be getting on the brakes with any tremendous pressure. So it's very bizarre that he's suddenly getting all that lockup going on through a high-speed corner.
Yeah, and that car is slow now. PJ did have a big lead, but it's down to 10 seconds, and that's even less now. Here comes Carl Hurdle through, and the hometown guy is in the lead of this race in TCA.
He's going to have a big smile on his face as he sees PJ off to the side of the road. PJ's trying to get things resorted. I'm not sure if he's doing a Control-Alt-Delete with the systems there to see if he can get it back running correctly, but definitely something is missed. We saw a very bizarre lock up and kind of half spin there into turn 8 and 9 about 3 laps ago, and something quite similar there through the high-speed chicane.
Well, the timing, I suppose, if you're PJ Gronke, was right because he wrapped up the championship yesterday. No pressure on his shoulders. Let's see if we can get to the bottom of what's plaguing the affable Canadian. What are you learning, Amanda?
In talking with Lewis down here on pit lane, he said that PJ did lose all power electronically into the Mini. They're trying to get that recycled. I think Lewis is getting real-time updates that maybe the Mini is going again. The officials are over here as well to see if PJ can get this Mini into a safe place, but we're following as it happens, guys.
He is going again. We do see that. And we saw him stop the car and restart it, but I'm not sure that fully explains the braking issues. But what a story it would be for Carl Hurdle. How cool is this? Drives for a team that's made up of volunteers. They all work together at the Honda manufacturing facility just down the road. This is the home track, and he's got a lot of laps around this place. In fact, he told me earlier in the weekend, he, for one, was glad there was no promoter test day here because he felt like he had an advantage. He knew this place better than just about anybody else.
Yeah, it's a great point. And a lot of the running on Friday afternoon was curtailed with some rain in the area. So, yeah, you don't want the people to learn your home circuit. You want to keep that advantage up front, though. Celso Neto hanging on here. What does Chris Walsh have up his sleeve? Surprised Neto with the outbraking maneuver about 5-10 minutes ago, but he settled back in there to what we saw through the first phase of this race when he was just trying to get to the halfway point in this race and seal the championship up.
Which he has done. Now looking to add to the win tally. Or could Celso Neto take his 4th win in the last 6 races? He's won 3 of the last 5. PJ Gronke in the pits, hoodies up. That is great news for Hurdle. He's the only one in the class that hasn't had some kind of misfortune. Alex Garcia spent a number of laps in the pit lane, so Gronke might still be safe in 2nd. This hasn't gone anywhere either, has it? Kaplan and Broll.
Wow, Broll really throwing that Integra around there. Gets a big run, though, even though he looked like he's a little bit sideways through that corner. Got a big run here, almost loses that momentum, has to arrest his speed a little bit. Kaplan closes the door there as they swing up through 14, 15, 16.
2 laps to go. Leaders have come by the line. These two, it'll be 2 to go at the stripe for them. Kaplan in the BMW, Brohl in the Skip Barber Racing School team Acura. A little bit of traffic. In fact, it's the race leader in TCA up ahead that the TCX front runners will have to contend with. They do so. Neto with a bit of breathing room here. 2 nearly identical again on the last lap.
They're just so consistent.
Yes.
I mean, their lap times are just not wavering. They're running lap times within 2 or 3 tenths of their personal best all of the time and just matching each other, trading blows. I thought maybe when Walsh was just sitting there, like, did he have more performance potential once he got to the front? He did that briefly, but couldn't take off, and Neto immediately responded with a really bold move down into turn 1. Celso Neto would have been wishing this championship started a little bit later in the season because he now has equal performance to Chris Walsh in that BMW.
Yeah, went through the first 6 races with a few podiums, 3 third-place finishes, in fact, but 3 finishes off the podium. But since then, he has not missed the podium. He's won 3 of the last 5, and it could be 4 of 6 if this result were to hold. I misspoke. I think we do have another 2 laps from here.
There's those tires starting to cry a little bit. He leans on it through that long turn 2, 3. Sweeping turn, then you plunge down the hill, then back over the crest of the hill, downhill once again. Quite a bit of elevation change here. Walsh thinking about it. Just needs to be a little bit closer to really make a legitimate move down to the inside.
Talk about that elevation change. I've seen everything from 54 feet up to 80 feet on a lap around this place, depending on the source. Does a great job.
Ooh.
Whoa! Walshian deep.
Yeah. I'm sure if he just missed a downshift there or something, but definitely overcommitted to the corner. Had to take evasive action, otherwise he's going to run Celso over.
Had to gather it back up now. It sets off in pursuit again. Champion-elect Chris Walsh, but Celso Neto trying to spoil the party just a little bit by taking a hard-earned victory.
It's almost like the car didn't grab the downshift and suddenly he didn't have the arrest of speed that he was looking for. This is like the lead battle, isn't it?
Yeah.
2 cars, Acura versus BMW, but this is for the final spot on the podium. Chris Walsh, what can he do? He's lost a big margin now to the leader, Celso Neto. Cooper Brohl there, he's just faster. He's just got to time that run. Does he do it this time?
He's to the inside. Does Kaplan see him? He does not. The 2 do make contact. Brohl goes through. Kaplan will have to fire it back up. Don't think he's in any risk of losing the 4th spot, but that's going to be something for race control to take a look at.
Yeah. It's strange that the BMW in the lead battle seems to be stronger through this corner, but the Integra is stronger there through the preceding corner. That put him closer there, and Kaplan just didn't give him enough breathing room. Even though he got turned, I'm not sure they'll look at that as any unavoidable contact by Cooper Brohl, to be honest with you. But just thinking it through, it's Walsh who's quicker through that sector than Neto, but it's Cooper who's quicker than Aaron through that sector in the battle for the podium spot.
Does that come down to driving style? Oh, we've got a puncture on the left front for Brohl.
Maybe more than that even.
Yeah, possible suspension damage as well. Yikes. But this will be the last lap if he can limp it back around. At the front, Celso Neto started on pole, briefly lost the lead, but a bold maneuver into turn 1 got him back to the point, and he's been able to hold it ever since. Chris Walsh will take home the 2024 TCX Championship, but Celso Neto has now won 4 of the last 6 for the Skip Barber Racing School team. Celso Neto wins race 2. Chris Walsh is the 2024 TCX champion. Misfortune for a couple of cars in the TCA class, and Carl Hurdle has kept his nose clean. now lives right down the road from this track. He comes through the final corner, and the Hart team and Carl Hurdle celebrate a race win on home soil. They pick up the TCA class victory. Guy who has a lot of laps around this place in a Honda Odyssey minivan of all things. If you could drive that thing fast around here, this Honda Civic should be a walk in the park. And how about Jeff Rica? No luck at all for Christian Pericarpi today. No luck earlier in the weekend for Jeff Rica, but his teammate Ron Zera stepped out of his car to make it available. They cinched the Manufacturers' Championship, and today, Jeff Rica becomes the champion-elect in TC. Rica across the line. He will celebrate a championship season in TC America, powered by Skip Barber.
Well deserved. I mean, Jeff and that whole group worked so hard to finally come through and grab this TC championship after coming so close last year. Big feather in their cap. Shame that Christian had some bad luck today.
A drive-through penalty was issued to this car. That will be a time penalty post-race because Cooper Brohl, I do not believe, will make it around. That tire started to give up and flail around, as you could see. That means Chris DeFreitas is maybe coming through for fourth. Or did he drop a lap? Hard to say. But at any rate, that's a tough way for that one to end because it was a really good battle with Brohl and Kaplan, and Celso Neto proudly with the Brazilian flag out the window, celebrating his fourth win in the last 6 races.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Brings back memories of Senna in Formula One.
Confirmation from the sanctioning body. Jeff Rica has clinched all 3 titles, done and dusted, with 2 races still to go. No one will have to race conservatively at Indianapolis, and that could get spicy, as you like to say.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Now, congratulations to Celso Neto for the win, to Chris Walsh for his title. Wins a win and a championship for Jeff Rica, and Carl Hurdle. Really cool story to see him get the win here today, but PJ Gronke is the champion in TCA. Provisional race results. And it's Celso Neto over Chris Walsh by 0.6 of a second, then Aaron Kaplan in third. Rica wins in TC and takes home the title by virtue of his victory and Christian Pericarpi's DNF today. Tough break for Christian, but he still has a lot to race for. Indianapolis is his home track, and to get a taste of victory there would mean a lot to him. Sally McNulty with a 2nd place finish. She has been putting these podiums together at the end of the season, and Scott Thompson does get a podium, his first in his career. That will be a special celebration for sure. Carl Hurdle, PJ Gronke, Alex Garcia. That's the way they finish in the TCA class. If that race had gone 1 lap longer, Garcia might have got Gronke for 2nd, but it was not meant to be. Time to hear from some race winners. We'll start in victory lane with our TCX winner, I believe, Celso Neto with Amanda.
And the hat goes on Celso Neto for the win here at Barber Motorsports Park. And Chris Walsh may have won the championship today, but you were not going to let the race win go easy. Talk about setting up turn 1 and getting the lean back.
Yeah, so the track conditions were tough. The track was super dirty, and I made it hard for our car through the front-wheel drive. So the whole race was just keeping yourself calm and being like, don't use your grip, don't use your grip. Because I knew you had me in Sector 3. Maybe we're going to need a good run out of Sector 3 if we wanted a chance. So that was what happened. You got a little wide in the marbles, got a big slide, saw that coming. Lifted a bit early, went full throttle to the last corner. Got a huge run and went to turn 1. But yeah, tough race. Walsh didn't let me breathe through 1 second, but it was a good battle. Yesterday also a good battle. Unfortunately, we made contact, which is what you ever want as a driver. But that's it. Got to thank my whole team, Skip Barber Racing, all my sponsors, AMED, Praga Karts, SimLab, everyone that helps us out, Honda Racing, HRC. Car was great today. Could not be happier to win.
Congratulations to Celso Neto for the win here, and Jeff Rico with his helmet on. We're going to walk his way as he takes in the moment of knowing that he has won this championship. It was a possibility here this weekend, and with the assist from Ronzaris, you wrap not only a driver's championship, but a manufacturer's championship. What will Barber Motorsports Park mean to Jen Racer?
I mean, Ron took a flight home early, but if he was here, I would be cheering him on unbelievably. Without his help, this is monumental. Can't thank the guys, my whole team, the guys in Korea, the guys in USA of Hyundai, Luke O'Malley that sponsors me throughout the season. But having this special weekend, although it came with a really low in the beginning and come out really high like this, I didn't think it would be like this. To be honest with you, this is amazing, and I thank everyone that has helped us. So. Until next time, that's for sure.
We'll see you in Indianapolis as the champ, Jeff, and you talk about the highs and lows of racings, but man, what the beautiful storyline is when you have a first-time winner, not only for the driver, but for the team. And Carl, I was watching your entire team take in this moment. Part of your team had tears in their eyes. Those guys were standing up top with signs for you all day. When you saw PJ there to the side, what went through your mind?
I mean, we just kept pushing all race. They were giving me feedback saying we were starting to close. We just kept pushing, hoping for something, and something happened. We've been in this series for off and on for about 10 years. Yesterday was our first day on the podium. Today is the first day on the top step. It's an incredible weekend, incredible.
And Carl, you'll spray that champagne as a first-time winner. And since we have a little time, I'm gonna walk to our champion that ended up locking up the championship a whole.
I hope we can get back to Amanda. I would love to hear from Chris Walsh about the battle with Celso Neto and locking up that championship. But a lot to celebrate for a number of folks here, and for that Hart team made up again of employees at the local Honda manufacturing facility. Super, super cool story.
I'm right here.
I think we might have Amanda back. And we'll find out here shortly, nevertheless. But always great to hear from a first-time winner. That's special.
Yeah, it is. So much heart and soul is poured into these moments. So a special day, and to have the support locally is really cool.
Well, we do have a chance to hear from Chris Walsh. Let's do it now.
Congratulations.
And you guys can see all the family and friends. And Chris, I have to tell you, everyone was celebrating up there. Tony had tears in his eyes as we were talking to him on pit lane. At the halfway point, the reflection on this season. Where is Chris Walsh headed as a driver?
All I can be is grateful. I mean, the team was incredible. The people that have supported me all year to make this happen. People that are here right now, it takes, you get to drive, but it takes everybody in the background to make this work. And so all I can say is thank you to everyone that supported me, and I'm glad to bring this home for them. And yeah, it means a lot. One of our sponsors from Divergent, Michelle, her mom passed away, so I like to dedicate the podiums this weekend to her. And John Conley, who supports me from Chicane Shoes, he passed away this past couple weeks, so it's pretty emotional to get this done, and all the folks that are in the background. So I was just humble and grateful. That's all I can say.
Congratulations to Chris Walsh, guys. I'm sure you can hear the music in the background. Celebrations are coming here for the end of the weekend for TC here at Barber Motorsports Park.
Plenty of celebrations, championships wrapped up here early at Barber. And when drivers can race without having to think about points at Indianapolis, man, oh man, that could be a lot of fun. Well, let's take a look back on a busy day of racing in TC America. Race 2 highlights. It was Celso Neto from pole position that led the way to the green flag in the TCX class, able to fend off Chris Walsh into turn number 1, just behind Cooper Brohl and Aaron Kaplan. They had a good battle starting there, and it lasted just about the whole race, although it did end in tears. Spin here for Scott Thompson. He was running in third at the time. That dropped him towards the back of the pack. Did have a technical issue on that car that did get resolved. Kaplan and Brohl and Kaplan. Man, we saw this battle all throughout the race. Chris Walsh waited to the halfway mark when he knew he had the championship locked up. He made the move to take the lead, but it only lasted half a lap. Big drive up the inside there by Celso Neto to get back to the point. Kaplan and Brohl continuing their battle. PJ Gronke, champion-elect in TCA, had a few wild moments, ultimately had to retire from the race, but did get credited with the second-place finish. This was Brohl late in the going, trying to get to the inside of Kaplan for third. The two made contact. Brohl would be penalized for that. Kaplan came home third. Winner overall was Celso Neto. Championship to Chris Walsh. Carl Hurdle getting his first career win for the Hart team in TCA, and Jeff Rika, the winner and a champion in the TC class in 2024.